diving into something really, really interesting today.
Definitely interesting, yeah.
You guys know I love a good mystery, and you all sent in so many requests to dig into this one.
I can see why. It's a fascinating topic.
It's all about, well, it's about UFOs and biblical prophecy.
Hmm.
Basically, we're looking at these excerpts you sent in from this document and trying to figure out, like, what if there are connections between these ancient stories and what we're seeing or what people say they're seeing in the skies today.
Yeah, and it's interesting to think about, like, how have people throughout history tried to make sense of things they just didn't understand, you know?
Right. Because back then they didn't have words like spaceship or alien. Right. So how would they describe something like that?
Exactly. They would have used what they knew, the language, and the imagery of their time.
So like could some of these biblical figures have actually seen something we might call a UFO today?
That's a great question. That's what we're gonna try to get into.
Okay, so let's start with one of the big ones like Ezekiel's vision.
Right.
The Old Testament, a whirlwind, strange beings, a wheeled vehicle. It's wild.
Oh, it's absolutely wild. Ezekiel chapter 1, it's like he goes into so much detail about this vision. It's not vague at all.
It's like he's describing like a blueprint or something.
It really is. He even describes what these beings look like their faces and wings and hands.
Whoa, wait a minute, hold on. So it's not just some kind of, abstract symbolic thing. He's giving us specifics.
He's giving specifics. If you want to look it up yourselves, it's Ezekiel 1.1521.
Okay, we'll definitely link to that in the show notes. So what does he actually say?
So he talks about these four living creatures, each with four faces and four wings. And get this, he says their appearance was like burning coals of fire and like the appearance of torches. I mean, some people read that and they're like, that sounds like a UFO.
I mean, I can see why people would say that. It's pretty wild. But like we were saying, back then they wouldn't even have the concept of a spaceship, right? So they'd have to describe it using what they knew.
Right. So they're seeing something incredible, something totally beyond their understanding, and they're trying to make sense of it with the language they have.
I never thought about it like that. It makes it even more mysterious. So okay, so Ezekiel, that's one thing. What about other parts of the Bible? Do any other parts mention something that could be interpreted as a UFO?
Well, you brought up the book of Revelation in your notes, and it's full of these descriptions of strange beings and like cosmic events and battles in the sky. It's wild.
It's definitely apocalyptic, but is it all metaphorical?
Hmm.
Or could some of it actually be describing, like, I don't know, encounters with aliens or something? I mean, what do you think?
That's the question, isn't it? And there are a lot of different ways to interpret Revelation. Like some people say it's purely symbolic, right? Just representing spiritual truths.
Right. Yeah.
Or it could be like a metaphorical warning about like the dangers of earthly power.
Hmm.
But there are definitely some people who read those descriptions and they say, hey, maybe this is about actual encounters with beings or technologies that are just way beyond what we can even imagine right now.
Okay, so we've got angels, we've got aliens, we've got something else we haven't even thought of yet. Revelation really keeps it vague or mysterious, I guess.
It does keep it mysterious, but it makes you think.
It really does. But what about like modern day Christians? How do they reconcile their beliefs with this whole idea of UFOs?
Yeah.
Because it's got to be kind of a tough thing to wrap your head around.
Yeah, it's a big question for sure. You sent over this document that outlines a bunch of different Christian perspectives, and it's pretty interesting how diverse they are.
So like what are some of the main viewpoints?
So one of the big ones, one that you highlighted actually, is this idea that UFOs are tools of deception.
Like almost like a trick.
Yeah, a trick, an illusion. And some people even connect it to like demonic activity, especially as we get closer to what they believe are the end times.
Right, right. So it kind of fits into that whole idea of spiritual warfare and like the forces of good and evil battling it out.
Exactly. And for people who hold this view, it's really important to be vigilant, to be aware of the possibility of being deceived, especially with everything going on in the world right now.
It's definitely something to think about.
Yeah.
But the document also mentioned other Christians who have a completely different take on it.
Totally different. There's this growing group of Christians who say, hey, what if extraterrestrial life is just like a natural part of God's creation? Like it doesn't have to contradict our faith.
Right. Because I mean, the universe is so vast, right?
Mhm.
Why would we assume that we're the only ones here?
Exactly. And they argue that discovering other life forms would actually just, like, expand our understanding of God's power and creativity.
It would be like saying, "Wow, God, you really outdid yourself."
Right. And this whole conversation has gotten even more, well, I guess more complicated. With everything that's been happening in the news lately, you mentioned the Pentagon report on UAPs specifically.
Oh yeah, that was a big deal. I mean, the government is finally admitting that they're seeing things they can't explain.
It was huge. Like, for so long, this whole topic was considered fringe, you know? But that report really brought it into the mainstream. And since then, we've had more whistleblowers coming forward, congressional hearings, and all this research into these unexplained phenomena. It's pretty amazing to see.
It does feel like something is really shifting, like we're on the verge of something big. But with so much speculation and so many different interpretations out there, it can be hard like to know what to believe.
It definitely can. It's like you go down one rabbit hole and then another.
Exactly. And that's why I think critical thinking is so important right now. Whether you're looking at ancient texts or these modern reports, we have to be careful about jumping to conclusions.
Couldn't agree more. We have to weigh the evidence, consider different perspectives.
And it's important to remember that like the Bible wasn't written as a science textbook.
Right.
It's about spiritual and moral guidance.
Exactly. So while it's totally fine and even fun to explore these connections, we have to keep in mind the context and the purpose of the text we're looking at.
I think that's a really good point. So basically what you're saying is be curious, be open-minded, but also be discerning.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. I mean, whether you tend to interpret these things through a spiritual lens or a technological one or even a metaphorical one, the fact that we're even having this conversation shows that this whole UFO thing is really making us think differently about humanity's place in the universe.
Okay, so where does that leave us? We started with ancient visions, we talked about modern government reports, and we explored all these different interpretations. What does it all mean?
And we've only just scratched the surface. There's so much more to explore here.
You're right about that. And to leave you all with something to really think about, to ponder as you go about your day, what if some of these biblical accounts really could be interpreted as UFO sightings? Like, what would that mean for our understanding of faith, of science, of our very existence?
Some big questions, no easy answers.
Definitely no easy answers, but it's fun to think about, right?
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep looking up.
And keep asking questions.